Top of the SportsMax zone for this Friday. There were no medals for the English-speaking Caribbean on day one of the World Athletic Championship indoors in the Serbian capital, Belgrade. The Caribbean had 3 women in the final of the 60 metres, but they were shut out by some outstanding performances. Switzerland's Mujinga Kambundji produced the fastest time since 1999, clocking 6.96 seconds to win gold, ahead of the Americans Micaiah Briscoe, who clocked 6.99 for the silver, and Mirabeth St. Price, who claimed bronze at 7.04 seconds. The Jamaicans Brianna Williams and Sherika Jackson finished 5th and 6th respectively, despite running the identical time of 7.04 as a bronze medalist and the 4th place finisher, Poland's Iwa Swoboda. The pre-race favourite, Trinidad and Tobago's Swoboda was the pre-race favourite. Now, Michelle Leahy, the TNT athlete who was also in the final, she ran a season's best 7.11 for 7th place. Leighton Levy watched day one of the championship, and he now joins us to recap what happened today. Some sizzling performances, and I don't think many people expected Leighton for Kambundji to win this race, especially in such a fast time. Not since 1999 have we seen a woman go so fast over 60 metres. Your take on that run?
Absolutely stunning, but there were indications early from at least the last 2 weeks that she was in the form of her life, because she won at the Swedish Championships in 7:05 and posted on her Instagram suggesting that this was only the beginning. You know, of course, athletes always say these things when they're trying to boost themselves up. But what you saw from her, the ease at which she ran in that preliminary round, and of course the semi-final, 7:08, was the same time as Sherika Jackson and Brianna Williams. But you always saw, you saw that there was a lot more there for her. Did you expect her to run 6:96? No way. Because as you mentioned before, the last time anybody ran that fast was in 1999, in March 1999, Katerina Tanu. And of course, after that, it was Mirela Hogan 6:97 back in 2018. But I think the benefit that she had was running in the outside lane, where she wasn't part of that mashup in the middle with all of those women who ended up in 7:04 because they were all bashing each other. Running on the outside, I think, gave her the advantage to just focus on what she needed to do, coming from behind and running through for 6:96. An incredible time.
Yeah, so I guess you're pointing out that the Swiss nationals had given us an indication that she could have been in the form of her life. But is it, Leighton, that we could be underestimating this athlete? I remember when she won the Prefontaine Classic in the Diamond League Series last year, defeating Gabby Thomas and Alison Felix and others. It was stunning everyone. So, she was a stunning winner there. So is it about time then that we probably start to pay her the respect that she is earning?
Well, you remember she won the bronze medal in the 200 meters. That was the World Championships in 2019. I think yes, the short answer to your question is yes. I think we tend to not look at European sprinters as much as the Americans and the Caribbean athletes when it comes to the sprints. But Mujinga Kambundji has been consistently good over the last 5 to 6 years, especially. She's made finals. She's won medals at the European Championships. She was, of course, remember she won the bronze medal in Birmingham, the last World Indoor Championships. She's always been there and thereabouts, but somehow, for some reason, she's always overlooked because she doesn't have a name like a Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price or Elaine Thompson-Herah or one of the great American sprinters. We tend to overlook but occasionally, people like, you remember Christine Aran from France, who was similarly overlooked in many instances, but came to run 10.73 as a personal best, one of the fastest times ever. I think Kambundji is in that category where we see her, but we really don't see her. But now we see her for real because she's now elite at least indoors. She's elite of the elite because only Marion Jones, Privalova, and Gail Levers have run faster than her, and she's tied with Merlin Otti for the 4th fastest time ever in the history of the sprint, the 60-meter sprint. So now she obviously deserves recognition that she's going to get going forward.
Yes, Leighton. No medals for the Caribbean participants. Shock for you?
Not really. I mean, you kind of figure that Brianna Williams, given that she ran 7:09 this season, of course, looked really sharp in the preliminary rounds, 7:06 and then 7:08, really relaxed in the semifinals, that she would have had a shot at a medal. But when you consider the times, it's 696, 699, and of course 704, technically from third to sixth, around the same time, they were separated by 0.005, 5,000th of a second. So I think both women, Shericka Jackson, her personal best at the start of the season, was, I think 721. She's taken that down to 704. Brianna 718 down to 704. Jamaica has 3 women now was run 704 this season. I think, they all have reason to be proud. I thought they performed at their very best. Personal bests in a final tells you that you gave it your best shot. Just simply wasn't good enough on the day.
Yeah, and what about the Bahamian Shawnee Miller-Uibo easing into that 400-meter final? What did you make of that performance?
Shawnee is not human, I'm convinced, because when you look at Femke Ball, who's run 50 points this year, and of course, Cleaver, Shawnee comes into this, I think this is probably her first indoor race, I try to remember, but she literally jogged 51.4. I mean, Stephen McPherson ran a really hard race against Femke Ball to run 51.26, but Shawnee looked like she was out for an evening stroll. You have to believe that when she puts that pedal to the metal tomorrow in the final, that she's going to run 50-something low and destroy a field that has some real quality runners in it. She's not human. I think, ever since Marie was at Perec, I don't think there's been as good a 400 meter, but a 2-4 runner than Shawnee Miller-Uibo. She's fantastic.
Yeah, so the stage is being set, Leighton, for some good performances from the Caribbean athletes in the 400 finals, because Stephanie Ann McPherson, the Jamaican, is actually the fastest going into the final. Miller-Uibo, I would consider the favorite to win. Jereme Richards was the fastest in the men's 400 semis as well. So all things being equal, the Caribbean is poised to land double gold.
Not really. Shawnee is going to, the Caribbean, yes, definitely. But there are a couple there's an American in the 400 meter from men who I believe is a potential gold medalist there. Of course, if Jereme runs at his very best, I think he'll be able to win. He looks in incredible shape. And he told me earlier this year that training with Wade Van Niekerk has pushed him, to new levels of performance. And we are seeing that. And I think in the final tomorrow, barring anything unforeseen, I think he'll probably put on a spectacular performance. So you're right. I think potentially the Caribbean could come away with 2 gold medals tomorrow. Certainly 2 medals, because I think Stephanie McPherson will run well as well. If you remember, when I spoke to Stephen Francis earlier this year, he did mention that he expects Stephanie McPherson to be really good this year, and she's shown that so far. She looks really strong. So it could be a strong medal haul for the Caribbean athletes in the 400 meters, both male and female, tomorrow.
Yeah, and just something more on Jereme Richards, because he did say recently that he's dedicating his runs now, certainly this year, to Dion Lendore, his fallen 400-meter compatriot from Trinidad and Tobago, and he really, really looked smooth today, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and of course, and that extra motivation is there, because, as you know, I think they were both very, very good friends, and if you saw his Instagram posts when Lendore died, and during the funeral and after the funeral, you know that this wasn't just talk for Jereme. It's something that really pushes him. His friendship and his dedication to Lendore I think, could possibly push him over the top tomorrow and cause him come away with a gold medal, because I think that extra motivation plus the form that he's in. If you remember, he ran 45 in New York. If he's able to repeat that kind of performance, he'll certainly win tomorrow. I think he's in good shape. Yeah,
the Grenadian Lyndon Victor is in the heptathlon. He's 5th. After day 1 of competition. Warner, the big man there, had some stutters today. How is the heptathlon shaping up as far as you're concerned?
It's looking solid, but the thing with Victor is that you don't see him very often, like you do most decathletes, and of course multi-eventers, I should say. The thing is that you don't have a way to really gauge where he's at in terms of his individual events or on a whole. So right now, when you look at where he's at in 5th, he's close, but I don't think close enough to really push for a medal. We can hope that he brings something special tomorrow in the final set of events. But it's kind of hard to gauge, because you really don't see, kind of like, to digress a little bit, Danielle Thomas-Dodd, she's kind of ghosted the media for the last year and a half. So we didn't expect, and we didn't know what to expect in the shot put today, which did pretty well. similarly with Victor, you don't see them often enough to kind of get a gauge of where they're at in terms of their preparation and in terms of what they're capable of at this particular juncture. It's hard to guess. So if he does well tomorrow, maybe he can position himself for a medal. But I honestly can't speak to that with any authority because I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, Leighton, we'll leave it there. Obviously, we'll probably talk again on Monday to review what happened over the competition in Belgrade and assess the Caribbean performances and the standout performances at the meet. So we'll probably talk to you on Monday.
Absolutely. And, of course, just to tell our listeners, look forward to Daniel Williams and, of course, Brittany Anderson, who I think are strong medal prospects, possibly 1, 2, and also Natalia Gould in the 800. They will be some people for the Caribbean to look out for over the next 2 days of the championship, because I think they are very strong medal prospects.
Yeah. Okay, Leighton, we leave it there. Yeah, George and
Take it easy, guys.
Not a bad opening day for the Caribbean athletes, as Leighton just pointed out. Maybe a little disappointment for Brianna and Sherika that they didn't medal, but they both ran personal best times 7:04, and based on how the race panned out, I don't think they could be disappointed, given the fact that their indoor season may not have been as you know, prolific as some of the other athletes that were there, that they did reasonably well.
Yeah, definitely did reasonably well, and the fact that they set personal best, as you mentioned, would be good enough for them just to start. And I know they would go back to the drawing board, Lance and George, and do the work that they need to do to ensure that they have a better season. Yeah,
well, given where Sherika is, the level that she's operating at now in both 100 and 200 meters, and given Brianna's elevated status as an Olympic sprint gold medalist in the relays, they will be disappointed that they didn't hit the board. But in context, their coaches will say, well, what's your target this season? Is your target a medal at the World Indoors? Or are you looking at the World Championships later outdoors? Or it's a different thing. The thing for Kambundji is she advertised her well-being in Tokyo, final of both sprints, through part of a crack Swiss 4x100 meters team as well. So the world knew about her talent. The question people are asking now, and that's what they, depending on the track and field heads, to decipher for them, to untie for them. How does awesome indoor form translate to outdoor form in a longer event in the flat 100? So that's where it really is, and Brianna and Sherika will be saying, well, we'll be seeing you again.
Yeah,
See you soon.
Yeah. On average, the athletes are looking more forward to the World Outdoors than the World Indoors. So it's this summer that will count more for most of the athletes that are in Belgrade at the moment. We go to break. A lot more to come on the SportsMax Zone, including what happened today in the UEFA Champions League draw. Back after this.